Many ancient peoples believed that the gods controlled the forces of nature and shaped destinies. Starting from this premise, they practiced various techniques of divination, which was the interpretation of phenomena in the natural world as signs of the gods' will and intentions. Through divination, the ancients sought to communicate with the gods and thereby anticipate and even influence the future. The Shang ruling class in China frequently sought information from the ancestors and other higher powers. The Shang monarch himself, with the help of religious experts, often functioned as the intermediary, since he had access to his own ancestors, who had a high ranking in the hierarchy of the spirit world. Chief among the tools of divination were oracle bones. Holes were first drilled in the shoulder bone of an ox or the bottom shell of a turtle to weaken it, and a red-hot, pointed stick was applied, causing the bone or shell to crack. The cracks were then read by skilled interpreters as answers on the part of the ancestor who was being consulted to whatever questions had been asked. The questions, answers, and often confirmation of the accuracy of the prediction was subsequently incised on the shell or bone, providing a permanent record of matters of importance to the ruler, such as imminent weather, the yield of the upcoming harvest, the health of the king and his family, the proper performance of rituals, the prospect of military campaigns and hunting expeditions, and the mood of the powerful royal ancestors and other divine forces. Tens of thousands of oracle bones survive as a major source of information about Shang life. In Mesopotamia in the 3rd and 2nd millennia BCE, the most important type of divination involved close inspection of the form, size, and markings of the organs of sacrificed animals.
Oh! Great Odin's raven!
Archaeologists have found models of sheep's livers labeled with explanations of the meaning of various features. Two other techniques of divination were following the trail of smoke from burning incense and examining the patterns that resulted when oil was thrown on water. From about 2000 BCE, Mesopotamian diviners also foretold the future from their observation of the movement of the sun, moon, planets, stars, and constellations. In the centuries after 1000 BCE, celestial omens were the most important source of predictions about the future, and specialists maintained precise records of astronomical events. Mesopotamian mathematics, essential for calculations of the movement of the celestial bodies, was the most sophisticated in the ancient Middle East. Astrology, with its division of the sky into the 12 segments of the zodiac, and its use of the position of the stars and planets to predict an individual's destiny, developed out of long-standing Mesopotamian attention to the movements of celestial objects. Horoscopes, charts with calculations and predictions based on an individual's date of birth, have been found from shortly before 400 BCE. Greeks and Romans frequently used divination before making decisions. Most famous among the many oracle sites in Greece was Delphi, in a stunning location overlooking the Gulf of Corinth, where advice was sought from the god Apollo. A private individual, or the official envoy from a Greek community, after leaving the customary gift for the god and entering the temple, had his question conveyed to the priestess, who fell into a trance, and delivered a wild utterance that was then translated and written down by the priest who administered the shrine. Information and advice from the god at Delphi helped Greek communities choose where to place new settlements during the centuries of colonization throughout the Mediterranean and Black Seas. Delphic priests may have collected information from the many travelers who came their way and then dispensed it by means of oracles. Greek and Roman sources report on practices of divination among the Celts. Predicting the future is one of the many religious functions attributed to the Druids, as well as a specialized group of seers. Among their methods were careful observation of the flight patterns of birds and of the appearance of sacrificial offerings. In Ireland, a ritual specialist ate the meat of a freshly killed bull, lay down to sleep on the bull's hide, and then had prophetic dreams. The most startling form of Celtic divination is described by the geographer Strabo. The Romans put a stop to the customs connected with sacrifice and divination, as they were in conflict with our own ways. For example, they would strike a man who had been consecrated for sacrifice in the back with a sword, and make prophecies based on his death spasms. Such horrifying reports were used by the Romans to justify the conquest of Celtic peoples in order to civilize them. Little is known about the divinatory practices of early American peoples. The Olmec produced polished stone mirrors whose concave surfaces gave off reflected images that were thought to emanate from a supernatural realm. Painted basins found in Olmec households have been compared to those attested for later Mesoamerican groups. In the latter, women threw maize kernels onto the surface of water-filled basins and noted the patterns by which they floated or sank. By this means, they ascertained information useful to the family, such as the cause and cure of illness, the right time for agricultural tasks or marriage, and favorable names for newborn children. It may seem surprising that divination is being treated here as a form of technology. Most modern people would regard such interpretations of patterns and everyday phenomenon as mere superstition. However, for ancient peoples who believed that the gods directly controlled events in the natural world, divination amounted to the application of these principles of causation to the socially beneficial task of acquiring information about the future.